Good morning, everybody. BayREN, thank you very much for inviting us. My name is Emily Withers. I'm from the Department of Housing and Community Development. I'm part of the State Housing Law Program, and we're the program that reviews the model codes and analyzes them for California amendments and puts in the amendments necessary for California. CALGreen actually doesn't have a model code, so this is a California-specific document. With me is my colleague Stoyan Blumenlove, and he's actually the brains behind the amendments to CALGreen. You can raise your hand. Stoyan's managing the slide changer.
Very important role.
We're not public speakers, so to give you a warning, we're kind of the worker bees in the program, so we won't get as much of a program as the gentleman before us. So we can make it a little bit interactive. If you have questions, feel free to ask us. The CALGreen code is broken out similarly to other green building standards or green codes. There's a division for planning and design, and then a second division for energy efficiency. For the energy efficiency portion for residential structures is actually adopted by the Energy Commission. So if you have questions on the energy portions of CALGreen, whether it's the mandatory, which actually falls back to the California Energy Code, or the Tier 1 and Tier 2 structures, you would contact the California Energy Commission. The third division is water efficiency and conservation. Fourth division is material conservation and resource efficiency. And lastly, we have environmental quality. To back up a little bit, I know our presentation is supposed to be on the 2016 CALGreen and the changes to 2016, but we actually had some very important changes that occurred in the 2013 CALGreen. Part of these were related to emergency regulations that were adopted as part of our emergency reactions at the state agency level, coordinating with other state agencies related to the drought emergency. For indoor water use, we actually made a change to the water use requirements for the wall-mounted urinals. So this was actually adopted. It's effective January 1st, 2016, and the flow rate is 0.125, or it's the pint urinal flushing, and that's also in coordination with the appliance efficiency standards by the California Energy Commission. And then also we had a provision for residential lavatory faucets, and that flow rate has been reduced to 1.2 gallons per minute, and that was effective July 1st. 2016. Did the handouts make it all the way around?
I'm sorry, the people in the webinar can't hear, so if you could just get a little closer to the computer.
Okay. Can you hear me now? As a Verizon. We also had a fairly large regulatory undertaking, and that was related to the outdoor water use, and for that, it was determined among the state agencies that met with the governor's office the appendix, and it does still require quite a bit of work.
Yeah, you gotta,
I think
it's just ridiculous.
I think for the production builders, they can probably build a template and handle it a little bit smoother, but it's a little bit harder for the custom builders.
And then to even understand it, you don't, I mean, you gotta be, there's so much information to try to study that, I mean, you have to become almost an expert on it. It's pretty extensive.
As far as the water budget portion of it, I know Department of Water Resources that put in like an interactive calculator on their website, so you can determine how many square feet of hydrozone X you have or hydrozone Y, and determine what your allowable water use is. And then you actually put in your plants
Right.
and see if you exceed that amount or, come in under that threshold. But we do have a contact for Department of Water Resources. Her name is Julie Stars Edmonds, and it's actually on their MWELO website. If you go on to water.ca.gov and then type in MWELO, that information pops up.
Chris Brock, BayREN, just a quick note for folks also on the phone, there will be a pretty extensive discussion later this morning about the model reloads and kind of things like local adoption and things like that as well. So I know technology makers from the stock exchange is pretty involved in how local agencies are adopting the model reloads. So I think there's some more stuff on that.
Yeah, DWR has also held several workshops throughout California on that. I don't know if they're still doing it, but when it was initially adopted, they had the workshops. One provision that we adopted, this was for the intervening code cycle, so it was actually effective July 1st, 2015, was a requirement for electric vehicle infrastructure. For the 2016, we really aren't changing the requirements. We changed some of the terminology to match the terminology that was used by Division of State Architect. Is anybody interested in going over the EV charging requirements? Show of hands, we can do it. Is that all working? Would you like us to go over it? My colleague here, Stoyan Bumbalov, is actually the expert on that. You want to go over it?
I was expecting questions. I can go over it. I'm not sure what you want to hear. And just to mention, you guys are out of work today. She's soft-spoken. I speak gibberish, so I hope you will survive.
And with the worker bees of the state housing law program, public speakers.
So the requirements for electric vehicle charging are simple. We don't require the chargers. We require the infrastructure. The requirements for single family, 100%. Our single family dwellings shall provide the infrastructure for future, maybe, installation of electric vehicle chargers. For multifamily, it's a little bit more complicated, but still simple to understand. Townhouses with attached garages, it's similar to single family, 100%. For any other apartments, condominiums, multifamily dwellings, it's 3% of parking spaces, provided parking spaces. As I said, we don't require installation of the charger. We don't even require the electric vehicle charging space to be painted out and shown on the site. We just require the plans to illustrate where in the future you can install the electric vehicle charger. There are, yes?
Was that, you say, 30%?
3%. So the number is 3% for for multi-family dwellings. It's actually much more than 3% because a townhouse with attached garage is still multi-family dwelling. So the total number, when we take into account the number of apartments and condominiums and townhouses built right now, which is more than 60%, the number is way above 50% for multifamily. So 2%, it tells you not much, but it's close to 50. There are some specific requirements for charging related to access. There are some federal and state laws for accessibility, for access to persons with disability. In 11A, we have different approach. If somebody is interested, I can address that. Just to let you know, the Division of State Architect, which is responsible for access requirements for public accommodations, public buildings, commercial properties, they have new regulations in Chapter 11B, which was approved this year. It's much more detailed and provide much more requirements compared to Chapter 11A. Chapter 11A is simple: housing accessibility, electric vehicle chargers, part of multi-family dwellings. There is a different approach for that. So again, if somebody is interested, we can go into detail, but I don't think you guys, it will be your topic. Other than that, I don't know, again, if there are questions about electric vehicles, I may be able to answer. If not, we can go forward.
Keep in mind too that the requirements for EV charging that Stoyan went over, those are at the statewide level. So in the Bay Area, you may have your local amendments that have a more restrictive or more stringent standard. So just keep that in mind. A little bit about the handouts. There are 3 handouts. One is called mandatory measures. So those are the mandatory measures in the statewide CALGreen, our minimum green building standards requirements. And then the other 2 handouts are a framework for Tier 1 and Tier 2. Keep in mind those are the statewide framework. So in Chapter 3, there is a provision where a local enforcing agency may have difficulty meeting the threshold of a tier standard, so they may modify that standard. So what you see as Tier 1 and Tier 2 are the statewide standards. I think most of you work for the local enforcing agencies, but for those of you who don't, make sure you check with the local enforcing agency for your project to make sure that you know what they're, if they've adopted any voluntary standards beyond the mandatory CALGreen. Go that one slide. Back one slide. I need to back one more slide. No, okay, okay. These are the requirements that we actually carried forward into the 2016 CALGreen. The requirements for the lavatory faucets and the urinals, the reduced water flow requirements, those were carried forward into the 2016 CALGreen, and you'll see them in the mandatory handout that we passed out. Also, the outdoor water use provisions, the compliance with the model water efficient landscape irrigation ordinance. Those are the model water efficient landscape ordinance. We've carried those forward also into the 2016 CALGreen. One new item is the construction waste diversion requirement. In the 2013 CALGreen, we had it at 50%. Diversion of construction waste from the landfills, whether it goes to recycling or through reuse. We did increase that to 65%. Also keep in mind that this is a statewide requirement, so at the local agency level, you may have a higher standard, such as 70%. And we put this in here, it's to help, I guess, transition us to the state's goal of the 75% initiative for waste reduction, and that's why we put that in there. A new provision that Stoyan actually put into this code is recycling by occupants, and that's to ensure that residential occupants in multifamily have a place to recycle their waste. And that was from, it was from Assembly Bill 341, I believe. Yeah, Assembly Bill 341 from 2011 to reduce solid waste by 75% by 2020. And if you want to read more on that initiative, it's on the CalRecycle website, calrecycle.ca.gov. Some changes that we made in the voluntary measures. We made terminology changes to the electric vehicle charging section. Stoyan adopted some new definitions in there to coordinate with Division of State Architect. We added a definition or a provision for hybrid urinals, recognizing those as a non-water use urinal. And also we included an elective recognizing demand hot water recirculation systems. And we also included a definition for that in CALGreen. Construction waste diversion, although we made a change in the mandatory requirements, we actually did change the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 very much as far as the percentages, but we did make it a requirement to have third-party verification of those reduction percentages. Currently, we're working on what's called the 2016 intervening code cycle, and that's the 18-month code cycle between the large triennial cycles. Some of the issues that we're working on, Assembly Bill 2282 by Assemblymember Gatto. This is the bill that's requiring both the Building Standards Commission and Department of Housing and Community Development to research and evaluate the possibility for mandatory recycled water infrastructure and structures, or mandatory recycled water systems and structures. So that's what we're currently working on. We have some subcommittees looking at issues related to recycled water use in residences, especially single-family residences. And then we also have stakeholder meetings. So our next stakeholder meeting will be October 26th. So you should see that on our website or Building Standards Commission website. Does anybody have any questions on 2282? Yes.
No, I'm sorry, on that. There's a question on the go-to webinar. For Tier 1 and 2, water efficiency and conservation, BayREN selective measures selected from 8.4.3. Where can I find these selective measures?
Elective measures are actually located in the A4.3 appendix. So when you go into the appendix, you'll see prerequisites, and then you'll also see some provisions that aren't labeled as prerequisites, and they should be in there. Do you want to answer some more?
If you see the banner Tier 1 and Tier 2, these measures are prerequisites. They are voluntary but mandatory if adopted by local jurisdiction. The electives, it doesn't appear with Tier 1 and Tier 2 banners, so it means these are electives. And in addition, the application checklist on the back, it will also provide additional information which section is an elective, which section is for Tier 1, and which one is Tier 2.
Also with the local enforcement agency, they may have additional electives that you can choose from that aren't in the code. And yes.
I have some salaries. Yes. For the conditions alterations, it says that in place the construction applies to CALGreen takes effect. How does that work with construction makes? You can residential plan to a kitchen remodel or a small addition. You're getting some questions around the additional alteration language that doesn't affect the small projects.
We actually took a look at that, and the way we addressed that was for the additions and alterations. The condition is that if there's an increase in the condition space, for example, adding another bedroom, CALGreen would apply to CALGreen provisions. Adding a garage because it's not condition space would not really trigger CALGreen. Do you have any comments on that?
And the other detail here is the requirement apply only to the area that you work at. You can't apply retroactively to the entire house. If you're adding a bedroom, then you need to take care of the bedroom only, not the entire house.
Another aspect that might kick in are the requirements from Senate Bill 407 for the water conserving fixtures. If you decide to remodel, you may be required to upgrade your fixtures, or if there's a local ordinance that would require you to upgrade your fixtures, you may have to do that. Let's see. What other changes? We might have changes related to maybe making the state's goals for either drought reduction or mitigation, and then also greenhouse gas reduction. There may be some legislation related to that or some requests from other state agencies. One request that we have received is from the Air Resources Board, and we haven't proposed this yet. We haven't accepted the proposal yet, but it's for EV charging for hotels and motels. We have their package, we have their rationale and their justification, and see if there's a need, and then work with the hospitality industry and see what their thoughts are for the future. So that's something that's out there. Universal design, we investigated this a little bit last year. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now. It'll probably affect the residential code more than CALGreen, but like I said, it's pending. We'll be looking also as part of our review process, looking at other green standards that are out there and see if there's something that we could adopt for California, if there's a mandatory measure or an elective. And then, of course, stakeholder concerns. If we get comments from the people actually implementing CALGreen, using CALGreen, having problems with understanding CALGreen, we welcome those comments. Anything we can do to help make the code a little bit easier. And then editorial changes. And then as other California codes change too, we need to make sure that CALGreen is consistent with them. Now the resources for CALGreen, I didn't go into a lot of details in half-hour presentation, so it's kind of a very high overview. Anyway, we have a 2016 guide that's published by ICC. It should be out probably later this month or the following month. Building Standards Commission will have a similar guide for the non-residential. I think they need several months between ours, so I look forward to that. Will be available for purchase through ICC and probably posted on our website when it's available. That's our phone number for HCD State Housing Law Program. You can reach Stoyan through that number. Our website is hcd.ca.gov. And then also to keep up with our activities as far as all of Title 24, including CALGreen, make sure you subscribe to our email list. And that's our website until it's changed again. But the email subscription should be at the very bottom right-hand corner. So, do you have any questions? Anything else?
Follow up with our question. They're asking where they can find the A for .3 appendix.
Oh. 2016 code, right? Okay. The A4 residential voluntary measures, it's called Division A4.3. Starts on page 73 of the 2016 code. I think the code is actually available now through the Building Standards Commission website. It redirects you to ICC, but you can actually see CALGreen. I don't think all the 2016 codes are there, but CALGreen seems to be. Did they find it?
I think it's fine. I can follow up with that too.
Okay. Anything else? Well, thank you very much. Make sure you look at our handouts. Our website, we post useful little items. Sometimes they're fact sheets. I don't know if we'll post a PowerPoint. We're available for training sessions. We're not just an individual person, but we're a group. Contact us, and we can send somebody out for half hour. Usually these run half a day or something like that. that we can get more into the nitty-gritty of the code. So, you know, feel free to ask us about that. We'll be updating some of the templates we have on our website to match the 2016 code. We're a little short-staffed right now, but we should be getting around to that.